Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast, brought to you by Playbook Investors Network, your strategic partner for unstoppable growth. Visit pincommunity.org to get started.
I'm Ken Chester. On the docket, America's continuing love affair with pickup trucks, heat-resistant lithium batteries, and from bad to best, Ford's quality turnaround. To add your voice to the conversation, be it to ask a question, share an opinion, or even suggest a topic for future discussion, call or text the Tech Mobility Hotline. That number, 872-222-9793, or you can email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show. From the Tech Mobility News Desk, it isn't just Hollywood who loves a good sequel or loves a franchise of movies. Seems that automakers from time to time like it too. And what I'm talking about is recent news in automotive news that Honda is reviving the boxy Element in 2029 as a hybrid to battle the Ford Bronco Sport. If you don't remember, and it's okay if you don't, the Honda Element was based on the Honda Civic and was built by the automaker from 2003 to 2011. It was boxy, but its claim to fame, it was funky looking, it was square, but that squareness, that rounded squareness that was Honda Element made it incredibly versatile for hauling almost anything. I mean, it was extremely, extremely versatile. I have my doubts about it going up against the Bronco Sport because I've reviewed the Bronco Sport, and the Bronco Sport does have, in some models, honest to goodness, off-road accolades, off-road bona fides. I don't see the Honda Element, particularly if they stay true to what it was, to do that. But they're having a memory thing because the first full year that was out back in 2003, they sold almost 70,000 of them, just over 67,000 of them. And unfortunately, it fell every year. I mean, quirkiness kind of has limits. But for some reason, Honda believes that they can not only bring it back, but they're targeting sales, first year sales in 2029 of a refreshed Element hybrid of 100,000 units. 100,000 units. Roughly half an assembly plant worth of output. In the Honda brand, I doubt very much that Acura is going to do it or they're going to have some sub-brand or anything. It's going to be a Honda. It's going to be a Honda Element. The challenge in making vehicles in the world, not just in America, is that it has incredibly long lead times, which is why Honda's talking about this now. It's 2026. Would you believe if they haven't already, in the next 6 months, no more than a year, they're going to have to lock in the tooling for that thing? And the tooling will take approximately a year to manufacture. So they've got to lock that design pretty close to right in the next 6 months to a year. And even then, that's 2027, and you're guessing what the market's going to be 2 years in the future. And in this volatile world, almost anything can happen. Look at what happened with EVs, and look what they did, and look what they had to do. It's hard to tell, and this is the auto industry. The EV debacle is not the first time. There was a big deal in the early 1980s with diesels. GM jumped in. They actually jumped in before they really engineered a really good diesel, and as a result, it was a disaster for them. But the problem is GM messed up the market for diesels in America so bad that nobody would touch them for years, which means everybody else's diesels weren't worth much. Then, if you remember, go back to 2009, the last time fuel prices were getting crazy, and there was a whole revival of wanting diesel because at that time, diesel went further on a tank of gas. The price of diesel was comparable to gasoline, but you got better fuel economy. In the case of Volkswagen back then, Volkswagen estimated it would take them year and a half, 2 years to meet the demand they were seeing now. They said on average, 8 out of every 100 that they were selling back in the day were diesels. When the fuel crisis hit during the recession back then, it went from 8% to almost 20%. And unfortunately, in the automobile business, you just can't pivot to demand like that. It takes time. I don't know where Honda thinks this is going to fall. Right now, hybrids are hot right now. Regular, not plug-in hybrids are hot right now because you get the best of both worlds. You get no range anxiety. You get extended, and worst case, you can fill it up with gasoline and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to plug it in. You can, but you don't have to. And that's the magic of a straight up regular hybrid. You get the power of a hybrid with that assist and better fuel economy for roughly the same price. So if you're looking at, I still got range anxiety, or I live out in the middle of nowhere, I'm really not thrilled with having a total EV that I have to plug in, hybrid's the answer. And the industry's going that way today. Now, who's to say what happens 2 years from now? So many things could happen right now. But they're betting again, and that's the challenge in the auto industry. Automakers very often have to make big bets and swing for the fences and hope the heck they're right. The original Honda Element, and I remember doing a review on it, had developed a cult following with its quote-unquote toaster-on-wheel styling, washable floors, and center-opening rear doors. Honest to God, this thing, when it came to the use of space, the only 2 other vehicles I can even think remotely had that kind of flexibility. One was a Honda, actually, was the Honda Fit. For its small footprint, had an amazing ability to get the most out of that small space. And then it was a Mazda wagon. I can't remember the name of the wagon, but that wagon was out about that same time, and it had a lot of flexibility with interior space. And honestly, it really gets down to how they choose to price this. And there's no mention of where they think it's going to fall. But if they're looking at selling 100,000 of these, it's got to fall in the high 20s, no more than the low 30s, and maybe 35, 36 maxed out. If it's more than that, then you've got other vehicles that are as good and have been in the marketplace longer and could be competitors to Honda, because Honda's only talking about 100,000 vehicles. It's not a lot in the auto industry. But at the same time, they're also coming to market with something new, so they're going to have to spend a lot of money advertising, whether they choose to raise the ghost of the first Element or whether they choose to create a whole new personality for it. Needless to say, if they're looking at Ford Bronco Sport owners, which is different, by the way, than the Ford Bronco. The Ford Bronco Sport's actually based on the old Escape. But Ford's given it quite a bit of capability. Maybe not as much as the Bronco, but when I reviewed it, it was very respectable. I didn't think it could do it until I spent some time with it, found it's very respectable. I'm not sure where Honda is going with this. I could certainly see some opportunities for off-roading if that's the commitment, but nowhere did I read in this automotive news article that says they're heading in that direction. So we'll have to see just how far they're willing to go with off-roading. Is it going to look like an off-roader, or is it going to actually have some off-roading bona fides? And if so, what's that going to do to the price? It would mean that literally if they were going to do it right, all of them would have to be all-wheel drive. You'd have to start there. That adds cost. It would have to have some other capabilities over and above a traditional vehicle. That adds cost. So Honda could do it. The question is, what direction, how much, and when? And will this be another flash in the pan like the first one? Or will this actually be one that they'll be able to hold on to and build on? Because remember, they just wrote off $16 billion in EV projects that they did not pursue, and they discontinued the Prologue after 1 year. Texas has surpassed California consumer spending on new vehicles because of pickup trucks. You are listening to Tech Mobility Show. You've heard me talk for years about technology, disruption, innovation, and adapting to change. But the one thing I've also learned in more than 3 decades in business is this. Most people never start because they think they don't have enough time. That's why I wrote 2 Hour Entrepreneur, a practical guide for building a real business in just 2 focused hours a week. Available now on Amazon, Kindle, Goodreads.com, and KennethJChester.com. 2 Hour Entrepreneur, because your future deserves 2 hours.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
In business, opportunity doesn't wait, and neither should you. At Playbook Investors Network, we connect visionary entrepreneurs with the strategies, resources, and capital they need to win. Whether you're launching, scaling, or reimagining your business, our network turns ambition into measurable success. Your vision deserves more than a plan. It deserves a playbook that works. Playbook Investors Network, where bold ideas meet bold results. Visit pincommunity.org today.
Quick question. What could your life look like 1 year from now if you invested just 2 focused hours a week into building something of your own? That's the idea behind my new book, 2 Hour Entrepreneur. No hype, no hustle culture, just practical steps to help busy people finally move from idea to action. Available now on Amazon, Kindle, Goodreads.com, and KennethJChester.com. 2 Hour Entrepreneur. Start where you are.
Once BMW, Saab, and Audi challenged the establishment. Now they are the establishment, and they face a challenge. Merkur XR4 TI from Germany. XR4 TI, the sports sedan from Lincoln Mercury that isn't afraid of a little competition. Test drive XR4 TI at a Lincoln Mercury Merkur dealer.
Have you heard of friendly fire? This is one of those cases. Ford had decided that they wanted to take on BMW, and there was nothing really in the product mix in the United States at the time that would even be worthy of it. Nothing. They're still building land yachts here. So they went over to Ford Work of Germany, their Ford subsidiary in Germany. They brought over 2 cars. One which was a marketing nightmare to pronounce, and that's the commercial you just heard. The Merkur XR4 TI is the 3-door hatchback. Performance, it was very German. But the problem is they picked the wrong dealers to sell it. Lincoln Mercury dealers were selling Continentals and town cars and big, heavy land yachts. They didn't know what to do with this thing. And if that wasn't bad enough, then they added the Ford Scorpio, which was the Ford Sierra in Germany, which was a basically German-designed, German dialed-in 4-door sedan. Now, I know some people who owned them, and they swear by them. But most folks just swore at them, and the Lincoln Mercury dealers had no clue how to sell them. So unfortunately, the Scorpio didn't last but a couple of years in the 1990s. The Merkur XR4 TI a little longer. But one thing's for sure, if you ever saw one, you would never mistake it for anything else on the road in the United States, because there was nothing else for those 2 cars on the road in the United States. If Ford was going to do it over, what they should have done was way more training and more advertising to prepare Lincoln Mercury dealers of that era, of the 1980s, how to appeal to a whole new, different, more discriminating audience and potential customer who would buy this thing that is cross-shopping BMW and Mercedes and Audi. Because up till then, they weren't. But a little history for you. According to J.D. Power, Texas has surpassed California in consumer spending on new vehicles, in large part due to strong pickup truck demand. As a result, Texans' preference for pickups is becoming increasingly influential, with many brands pursuing some sort of pickup truck offering. Industry analysts add that automakers could carve out a niche with affordable entry-level pickups. Who cares about the price of gasoline? Really? This is Topic A. This is contradictory to where we are at as a country right now. Pickup trucks, even modestly equipped full-size pickup trucks, are going to run you north of $45,000 easy, 65 to 70 to get it where you want it. And if you want to go all the way to luxury, it's not unheard of to have a $100,000 half-ton pickup truck. I sat in one. And for many years, for the last 5 years, I have reviewed pickup trucks from all the automakers, all of them, that were really between $65,000 and $85,000. Yet, in Texas, pickup truck is about as common. I mean, if there's such a thing as an official state vehicle, the pickup truck, the full-size body-on-frame pickup truck would be it. Now, in fairness, a lot of those pickup trucks in the rural parts of Texas are, in fact, doing double duty. You're going up road, you're going off road, you're feeding livestock, you're doing the stuff that you do with a pickup. But for y'all in the cities, and I'm talking to you, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, nope, y'all ain't. In fact, they got a name for them down there. Folks who buy those pickups in the metropolitan areas never take them off-road. They call them mall crawlers or pavement princesses, since they're never going to drive them off-road. And princess is the right name because you are going to be spending some serious money. So here's the issue that I take with this Automotive News article. We're in a time where gasoline is in the high 3s to mid 4s a gallon. Even with a decent pickup truck getting in the mid-20s, you're sitting on usually a 35-gallon gas tank. And when you go to fill up, it hurts. Not to mention, everything about a full-size half-ton pickup truck is expensive. Your wheels are expensive. Your maintenance is expensive because everything is heavy-duty. How are you even affording to operate it, let alone make the payments on it? That's my question. Yet, Texans are pushing this thing to where the automakers are in a full stampede. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we've talked about this before, is the Ford Maverick. I reviewed the Ford Maverick when it came out as a 2020 model, and I thought it was genius of Ford. Still do. Come out with this. It was a unibody truck. It's not body and frame. It's smaller than a Ranger pickup. But here's the beautiful part. That vehicle, as a hybrid in the base XL trim, which was not too bad, by the way, had a base sticker price of $19,995 brand new. And you could buy it at that price and still have a decent truck. The kicker? It was so decent, Ford was sold out of them for 3 model years. The first 3 years of its existence, you couldn't get the XL hybrid. Now, they did, if you wanted to upgrade, you could get a 2-liter gasoline version, and it would give you slightly more towing because the base hybrid, I believe, towed either 1,500 or 2,000 pounds. The gasoline 2-liter, 3,500. But Ford hit gold with this thing. And sold it and sold it and sold it, and even now still relatively owns that part of the market. What's a Ranger cost nowadays, you ask? The last time I test drove a mid-size Ford Ranger pickup, 10-speed automatic, that truck was almost $50,000. And I'm not talking this year. I'm talking 2-3 years ago. No, 3-4 years ago, I'm sorry. When I last drove that truck. Unbelievable. Now, it takes, people are incredibly loyal to their full-size pickup trucks. And if there's any consequence, it took Toyota almost 30 years to to get to where they are now relative to the 13% share they've got between Tundra and Tacoma. And Tacoma owns the midsize range. Them, Chevy, GMC, Ford. They own it. And folks are coming for that range. But it blows my mind. Folks in Texas buying these even at these prices. I mean, the operation costs are high, the acquisition cost is high, and the maintenance cost is high. But you got to have your truck. I mean, it's a rite of passage, I guess. You got to have your truck. And as a result, automakers are catering to what Texas is telling the automakers they want. A new ceramic solid-state battery developed for special applications can survive temperatures over 300 degrees. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Quick question. What could your life look like 1 year from now if you invested just 2 focused hours a week into building something of your own? That's the idea behind my new book, 2 Hour Entrepreneur. No hype, no hustle culture, just practical steps to help busy people finally move from idea to action. Available now on Amazon Kindle, Goodreads.com, and KennethJChester.com. 2 Hour Entrepreneur. Start where you are.
Every great business starts with a spark, but taking it to the next level takes strategy, connections, and capital. That's where Playbook Investors Network comes in. We're your strategic partner for accelerating growth, navigating challenges, and capturing market opportunities before your competition does. Your business is more than an idea. Let's make it an impact. Playbook Investors Network. Your future starts here. Learn more at pincommunity.org.
Researchers at Tsinghua University in China have developed a tiny, all-ceramic, solid-state lithium-ion battery designed to safely power miniature electronics in extreme environments. The new batteries operate flawlessly at temperatures up to just over 300 degrees Fahrenheit. What's more, the new ceramic batteries can survive sudden, blistering thermal shocks of 572 degrees Fahrenheit for up to 20 seconds. Is this a game changer? This is column B. Topic B. This is topic B. Let's talk about this a minute. As battery chemistry and battery engineering, the construction of batteries, continues to evolve, these particular batteries have very specific purpose. They've been designed for military and aerospace tech. At 300 degrees, that lithium-ion battery in your cell phone would swell, bulge, and catch fire, guaranteed. Partially because of the slurry of lithium that's in the battery that in charge, discharge will short out over time, degrading battery life and actually making it more susceptible to a thermal incident. We've talked on this program about the development through the last few years of solid-state lithium batteries. And what that is the solid-state part means that the lithium in the battery is no longer that chemical slurry. It is powder. It is not liquid. It's a solid. And as a result, that alone reduces a lot of the fire risk and almost eliminates the thermal runaway risk that the slurry, the typical lithium-ion battery design, has inherent in it. So you start there. And we talked about, Toyota said they'd have theirs when we were talking in the early part of this decade, by the middle of the decade. Solid state is becoming more practical across a number of applications as people perfect the chemistry, perfect the manufacturing, perfect the technology, and drive down prices. Now we're adding ceramics. Why ceramics? Ceramics are heat resistant. But the challenge that they had with developing these batteries is they had kind of a thickness issue. If they made them thick enough to be dense, they were brittle. If they made them too thin, they wouldn't work. So what they figured out how to do was they layered it. They put it in layers. What that ended up doing was giving them more capacity and making it more robust by nature. The system actually reinforced the ability for it to be robust. What does that mean? It means that these batteries can now be used in sensitive applications where typical lithium-ion batteries were not feasible because they could not operate within the performance envelope required for these specialty operations. Couldn't do it. But these will. They offer non-flammability and high safety, providing a reliable and high-performance power solution for wearable, miniaturized electric devices. Think about that for a minute. Right now, they can't use regular lithium-ion batteries because of the risk. Here's ceramic-based lithium-ion batteries that are tiny enough to operate what we call wearables, electronics on your person, without worrying about it catching fire, wearing out, or failing due to temperature variations. As the article continues, standard lithium-ion batteries are widely used for their high energy density. That's what we talked about. But the volatile liquid electrolytes pose severe flammability and explosion risks when exposed to high heat or worse, physical damage. This safety hazard limits their use in harsh environments like aerospace equipment, military applications, and even industrial Internet of Things sensors. Imagine a sensor hundreds of miles away in a pipeline or in a remote substation or monitoring some sort of liquid flow, be it water, sewage, whatever, in some remote location. Temperature fluctuations all over the place, extreme heat, extreme cold. The typical lithium-ion battery won't be used for that because they can't count on it. These new batteries, they will. Now, let me go rogue for a minute here, because the one thing I read about this bothers me, and I'm sure it's something in the back of your head, so let's talk about the gorilla in the room for a minute. You say, Ken, what's up with the China development? Why aren't you talking about stuff developed in the United States? Well, first of all, I'd love to. I would. But this was developed in China. We did not develop this. And that's another reason why about keeping people out, there are consequences. At least if people are competing in your market, you can look over their shoulder and reverse engineer their stuff. That's what China did. That's what Korea did. That's what Japan did. And beat us at our own game in some instances. It's not always good to keep people totally out. Remember the old saying, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer? Definitely the case when it comes to this race we are in right now. This is just one of many examples that I run across in my research every week with reference to the march of technology, the progress being made around the world, and why we need to step up our game and be just as competitive. Why wasn't this developed here? It's not that we're not spending the money. The government is spending. The feds are spending money for basic engineering and chemical research. We are. We've talked about that here with a variety of federal programs. But it doesn't seem that we have the same advances for our money. My question is, in part, why is that? Are we so bent on making sure that either a company who's going to put money with it, because understand, even here in the United States, the federal government is not bankrolling everything without dollar for dollar or actually multiple dollars for every Fed dollar put in. Our companies are investing. If feds are putting up money, it's because the private company or project is putting up $2, $3, $4 for every dollar the feds are putting up. So that ain't the problem. But it's a question I ask you to consider because it really hit me hard when I was researching this particular article, because it's not the first time I had to read about a major advancement that didn't happen here. The question we need to be asking is, why is that? And more importantly, what can we do to resolve that issue? Because it needs to be here. Because this kind of technology is a security risk. If another country has it, we can't get it, or we can't make it, or we can't replicate it. It gives that other country a military advantage for God knows what. And this is the kind of stuff I've been talking about when it comes to ramping up production in America. It's a heavy lift, people. A really heavy lift, and we need to get serious and stop just talking about platitudes and get down and dirty and get the work done. We can do it. We've done it before. It's just a different world now, and there are a lot of serious competitors out there. So you're going to step up your game. Ford went from bad to best mass market brand in the most recent J.D. Power Initial Quality Study. We are the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
You know, after years of hosting these programs and talking with entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders, I realized something. A lot of people aren't lacking ideas. They're lacking a realistic path to start. That's why I wrote 2-Hour Entrepreneur. It's for people with jobs, families, responsibilities, and dreams that have been sitting on the shelf for too long. Launching now on Amazon Kindle, Goodreads.com, and KennethJChester.com. 2-Hour Entrepreneur. Progress starts small.
You've got the drive. You've got the vision. Now you need the right partner to make it happen. At Playbook Investors Network, we power ambitious leaders with the tools, insight, and investment connections to move faster, grow stronger, and lead markets. We're more than advisors. We're your co-pilots in success. Because in business, standing still is not an option. Playbook Investors Network, fueling ambition, delivering results. Visit pincommunity.org.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
After setting an industry record for recalls and struggling to fix production snags on some new models, the Ford Motor Company surged from below average on last year's J.D. Power U.S. Initial Quality Study to become the highest-ranked mass market brand for 2026. Question is, how did they do it? This is Topic C. On this program, I bash the automakers a lot. Stellantis in particular, but Ford and GM didn't get that far. And then a lot of times they deserved it. Now, I'm rooting for Stellantis, and I told you this before. They hired 2,000 engineers to turn it around, and I really am rooting for them. Ford Motor Company comes in for a lot of abuse from a lot of corners. Everybody wants to beat up on Ford. You know, they say Ford, fix or repair daily. Ford, found on side of the road dead. Everybody wants to beat up on the Ford Motor Company. And to a degree, I have too. But, you know, you got to give props where they're due. And you got to give them when they're trying to do the right thing, when they're putting their money where their mouth is. That's the thing. Now, I said in the open that Ford is the top mass market make for this study. But do you know who is number one nameplate-wise? And here's a hint. It's not Lexus. Let that sink in for a minute. In the 2026 J.D. Power Initial Quality Study, where they actually sent surveys to some 78,514 purchasers and lessees of 2026 models, who were surveyed after 90 days of ownership. And the study also incorporates repair visit data on hundreds of thousands of real-world events reported to franchise new vehicle dealerships. And this is a new practice that J.D. Power rolled into starting in 2024 survey. I said all that to say the number one nameplate in the 2026 study above everybody, was Porsche. Porsche, a boutique manufacturer of high-performance vehicles. Porsche had the least problems per 100 vehicles built. You know who number two is? And this is my heart. Number two, Genesis. If you haven't heard the name, let me help you. They are the luxury division, the luxury nameplate of the Hyundai Motor Company, along with Kia and Hyundai. Genesis, number two. Ford, as the top of the mass market, is number three. Lexus is number four. Lexus came in after the Ford Motor Company. Lexus. Let that sink in, because I told you I had my concerns about Lexus, that I think they've gotten lazy. I really do. I think they kind of were sitting on their laurels and they didn't used to be. So let's talk about what Ford did right. Let's start about the simple stuff, because to correct this stuff is not magical, it's not mystical, it's not breaking out the pixie dust and spreading it around the assembly plant. It's the grind of doing it right day after day, finding the problems and fixing them one problem at a time. They moved away from find and fix to a more proactive approach to catching problems. Ford implemented cross-functional daily problem-solving sessions to discuss issues until they got fixed, and that's in every assembly plant. Ford has hired more than 350 technical specialists in the last 3 years, more than double what it had previously, to help. In the past year and a half, Ford created a dedicated software quality team charged with catching issues before they snowball. In-house artificial intelligence systems are also proliferating. Yeah, they're doing a joint venture with IBM, by the way, across plants to identify defects more quickly. And this is something for y'all Ford haters out there. I want you to hear me real clear about what I'm about to tell you next, because you're not going to believe me, but this is out of Automotive News, an industry trade publication. That's what I want you to hear. The automaker said it is testing vehicles longer, the equivalent of 15 years or 225,000 miles, to ensure its powertrains last long term. I said 225,000 miles, 15 years worth of wear. Yeah, dramatic pause, mic drop. By bringing suppliers in to see how vehicles get built, something that you would think would be obvious, Ford said just that has driven a 30% reduction in launch issues year over year. Year over year. But here's the thing I want to tell you, because it blew my mind. Which Ford vehicles got the special performance, Best in Segment awards from J.D. Power? Hear this too. 2026 J.D. Power Initial Quality Survey. Best in Segment: Ford F-150, Ford Mustang, Ford Super Duty. 7 of Ford's 10 tested models ranked in the top 3 of their segments, the most of any automaker. More than GM, more than Stellantis, any other automaker. If I was to round out the top 5, well, the number 5th one, and I got to wonder about this one personally, but it's what J.D. Power says. Number 5 is Nissan. I'm just going to leave that alone right now, because I'll believe that when I see it. But here's the thing you don't want to get confused with. What they're looking at is assembly quality. Engineering quality, assembly quality, off the line, first 90 days of owning it. That is not typically an indicator of what it's going to be like 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out. But it gives you an idea of the quality off the line. which is why they do the study. They get valuable information. You would think, and I would at first blush, that when it comes off the line smack brand new, the car's perfect, right? Yeah, not exactly. The most perfect vehicle here has slightly more than one, not quite 1.5 problems for every 100 cars they build. That's what that number represents. Porsche at 138 means there's 1.38 problems per every 100 cars. So not quite, a little over one problem. For many, it's the infotainment system. It's not necessarily engines and transmissions or body integrity like 20 years ago, like 30 years ago. It's the electronics, people. And Ford is putting their money where their mouth is. And it's showing up. The interesting thing is, I'd like to see where it is in 3 years. These brand new 2026s, let's see what they look like 3 years out in 2029, 4 years out in 2030. Let's see how they do then. Does the quality improvements, are they for real, and do they hold? That's the question. But yeah, Ford, number 3 overall, number 1 mass marketer in the most current survey by J.D. Power for initial quality.
This is the Tech Mobility Podcast.
If you've been waiting for the perfect time to start your business idea, let me save you some time. That moment probably isn't coming, but 2 focused hours a week? Yeah, most of us can find that. In my new book, 2 Hour Entrepreneur, I'll show you how small, consistent effort can create real momentum toward building something meaningful. Launching now on Amazon Kindle, Goodreads.com, and KennethJChester.com. 2 Hour Entrepreneur, built for real life.
In business, opportunity doesn't wait, and neither should you. At Playbook Investors Network, we connect visionary entrepreneurs with the strategies, resources, and capital they need to win. Whether you're launching, scaling, or reimagining your business, our network turns ambition into measurable success. Your vision deserves more than a plan. It deserves a playbook that works. Playbook Investors Network, where bold ideas meet bold results. Visit pincommunity.org today.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
You've heard me talk for years about technology, disruption, innovation, and adapting to change. But the one thing I've also learned in more than 3 decades in business is this. Most people never start because they think they don't have enough time. That's why I wrote 2 Hour Entrepreneur, practical guide for building a real business in just 2 focused hours a week. Available now on Amazon, Kindle, Goodreads.com, and KennethJChester.com. 2 Hour Entrepreneur, because your future deserves 2 hours.